Hi, this is Char Willie from the JustAskChar Advice channel. Join me and Classic Ruby for a radio segment called Keep the Beat. We broadcast every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from Classic R&B Jams, CRBJ. We interact with the audience in the chat room where you'll have access to emojis, gifts, and the lively conversation. Press the icon that is a speaker, then press play radio. After a 15-second commercial, all the fun will begin. If you miss the live broadcast, you can listen to the replays from Mixcloud. Follow my channel on Mixcloud, Just Ask Char Advice channel, and you will receive notifications when the show has been uploaded. We hope to see you soon, and until then, enjoy this show. All right. TGIF, everyone. What is going on? How are you? Are you ready for the weekend to begin? I am. I'm ready for the weekend to begin. It stopped snowing in Chicago. Isn't that a beautiful thing? I can actually see the sidewalk. You know, it's been shoveled, of course, but hey, I can still see it. Couldn't say so about a week ago. It has been snowing just back to back to back. And it had been a little tough, windy, not as cold as it could be, but we made it. There was no school for the children, I think and they just got back after they had to go through the union as far as trying to get the teachers back in the classroom because they weren't trying to go back in the classroom. So after all of that, they said, okay, let's start school on Tuesday. And then next thing you know, it snowed. So no cheering in the classroom that Wednesday. But anyway, there is some news about the stimulus, and I didn't get a chance to get the update on it, but I do know there's something, and I will get that information and I'll announce it tomorrow for those who do not know and do not, look at the news. I know it's $1,400, and there is a particular amount, a cap that you can make in your income, and that's all I know. I literally had no chance to, do any homework, but I do know that much information. And in the news today, I mentioned that Chicago was having a lot of carjackings, and I'm like, even when it's cold, because normally that doesn't happen, but it slowed down when we got that snow, Tuesday and Wednesday. But there has been some tomfoolery up in the malls. There was a shooting at 1 p.m. this evening inside of a mall on the south side. It's called Ford City. And it was some people in Foot Locker. Now, I don't know if there was a new shoe that came out. Someone took the last shoe. I don't know what happened. I don't have the details. But just to know that they had to, corner off part of the mall in the parking lot. And what is going on? What the heck is really going on? I don't know, but it's too much. And that was kind of sad to hear. I'm like, inside of a mall in the wintertime. What it was about again, I don't know, but it's still sad. You go, because I'm sure there were customers in there just want to buy some shoes. That's it. So again, like I said, I just heard there was a shooting, didn't get all the details. They just broke in the news and say, hey, there's a shooting on the south side of Ford City Mall in Chicago. Details, I guess, at 10. So, yeah, it's really getting wild out here. I don't know. And I really think it's because people are in the house all the time, or most times, because the teenagers, they're not scheduled to go back to class until, I think they said maybe April, if at all, because they still trying to work it out. They say they came to some agreement, but that is always up in the air when it comes down to Chicago Public Schools and the teachers union. It's always something. So we'll see. I don't know, but we will find out soon. All right, guys, without further ado, stand up from your seats, raise your hands up in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you know what I'm talking about, everybody say, "Oh yeah. Oh yeah." It
Yeah, baby. All right. Who's in the house? Who's in the house? Who's in the house? Classic Rubio. What's up? What's good? What's happening? What's up? Woo! Why, good evening in TGIF, Shar. How are you doing this evening?
I am well. Good evening to you as well.
Why, thank you, thank you. And of course, to my adoring fans, mwah, I love you. I missed you. It's going to be a lovely Friday. I could just tell. I could just tell.
Okay. And my question is, where's that Dun Teasy? He's supposed to be cracking a joke up in the chat room. He nowhere
Yeah.
to be found. Isn't that something?
I'm saying Dante's leaving us without our favorite peanut gallery. Come on now. He better pull his stuff together. I know he's probably listening from the clouds, being like, oh no, I got to get to that keyboard quick. Watch. I bet you. I bet.
Okay. He gonna
Mm,
show his hand, I know.
He better show his hand. I'm telling y'all. Listen, we told you we love you guys, and we do actually look forward to seeing you guys in the chat room. You think we don't? We do. We notice. We love you all.
Yeah, we really do. And I know a
Mhm,
lot of times I don't put some of the comments on the screen. I read them and be laughing, but
mhm.
sometimes we just got to put some up there to say, "Y'all check this out. Look what she said. Look what he said."
See, and I try to slick answer people, right? So I won't be like, "Hey, so Vonda or Emmanuel Briggs said blah 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 blah," right? But then my next response, I'll technically answer whatever it is you asked or you stated to me. So we do read y'all, we do, just so we know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I did announce, and I've been announcing every week because I'm trying to get you prepared for the disappointment. I am running out of letters. I'm telling you, I'm holding on to these few letters, and I'm looking for other content that we can discuss, and it has to be something that is not a circular argument because I
Mhm,
cannot deal with that. It has to be something where you can solve a problem, you can look at it different ways, come out with a good solution. If it's not that, I am not going to have a show on that particular Friday. So I am out there looking, I'm working. I got something for you today. It's another court scene,
mhm.
but that's what I got.
All
Now,
right.
I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to stop and do a little commentary right away because I can't help myself. When I looked at this, I'm like, come on now.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So
Okay.
let me get the audio, share the stream here.
We
And
love our court TV. All right.
all right, here we go, and here I go. Okay. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
I can literally just stop right there. Really don't even want to ask any questions. I could do that. 11 years.
Mhm.
Now, if you've listened to me for any amount of time, I have a saying: if it hasn't worked out in a decade, it's not going to.
Mhm.
Any day beyond 10 years is a waste of both of your time.
Hmm. Girl, I was at 5 years. Okay, my whole thing was. Yeah, well, hold on. How old was she again? I can't remember how old they said. Was she in her 30s or her 40s? Can't remember.
She's in the 30s,
In
so
her
they met
30s.
each other when they were in the 20s.
Early 20s. Okay. See, so I'll say this, and I was saying this, right? If you don't have children yet and you would like to have some, your cutoff should be 5 years as a woman in your, viable years. And the reason why is because to me, 5 years is more than enough time. And I only give you a total of 5 years because I'm assuming that I'm talking to young people, like people like
Yes.
her. You're talking to the, 19 to 28-year olds, right? So I'm going to give you that time. Y'all need to find yourself, still finish school, do all of that good stuff. So fine, 5 years. 5 years. You're trying to tell me in 5 years, marriage isn't on the table, there's no proposal, there's no set plan at 5 years? What are you doing? I've never seen Char. I'm telling you, I'm being real. And I understand. I understand. I was in an exceptional position. I admitted that
Mhm.
I went over my 5 years by 2.5 years, and I excused one of those years because I said, well, that first year we weren't like seriously dating, right? We weren't serious. So the first year doesn't count. So then 5 years came and we got to the year 6, and I cried like every day for like a year and a half. Like I'd watch wedding shows, get married, what do you love me? Right? Because it's like
Mhm.
there's like this devastation attached to it because on one side, you've been saying this is common sense. But on the other side, you've attached 5 years now to this person, 6 years now to this person. If they don't show any interest, if you haven't been ring shopping, if you don't hear whispers from
Mhm.
friends about how it's coming, nothing, what are you doing? Because you can say,
Yeah.
I've invested 7 years. I've invested 11 years. I've invested 14 years. Yeah, and you're going to invest another 14 fruitless years unless you leave. Like, nothing's going to change. What do you
Not
think
at
you're going to
all.
get? Come on.
I'm with you. It's not going to change. And I like the 5-year plan. And there are things, because, again, I invested time like that as well. And what happened is I just didn't think about it anymore.
Mm,
Just time is ticking, do, 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 do. And one day, the day came when I'm like, well, let me go ahead. Let's move. It's time to move. And after I mentioned it to him, he said, okay, well, we might as well go and get married then. And I don't know what happened, but the room started closing in on me. My heart started beating fast. I
mm,
lost my breath. And I realized, wait a minute, I'm just here. I don't want to marry this man.
mm,
Oh my goodness. And that, I was awakened that day. I could not believe it because I just time kept on going. We just kept on day after day after day.
mhm,
And I'm like, no, that's it. And I looked, I'm like, okay, we both young enough, 30 years old, we both can have children. Let's start, we can have a relationship. And I just, we end up breaking it off. So
mhm.
um yeah, so I can tell you again, a decade,
Yep.
any day after a decade, you are wasting your time. That's all I
Mhm.
want to say because you can't get that time back. You just cannot.
Right. Right. Oh, man.
You, you cannot. So that is why I just wanted to stop it right here just to mention it
Mhm.
because it's just too much you can say with just that statement. You
Right.
know, I can't, I can't accept the fact that you endured this and you're not going to take any responsibility. So anything that come out of your mouth after this, I'm just going to look at you
Mhm.
because you're the plaintiff. You're the one that's saying, hey, I stayed 11 years. I called the police 11 years. He did this to me 11 years. So then you move the camera and just keep it on her. You're like,
Mhm.
okay, that was you. You decided that. You don't have to do that. That's up to you, and you have to take responsibility. You
Right.
cannot
Exactly.
blame it on anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's 11 years. Man, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the nameless 20-year-old ex-girlfriend, only 15 years older than that, right? That dated the guy from the Harlem liquor store, right? Um, you're trying to tell me we're like, wait, so he beat you on January 1st, and then he beat you on, you know what I mean? You're trying to tell me this man beat you like every day, every week, every
Mhm.
month, every year for 11 years? 11. You said every day. You didn't say things started good at first. The first few years were good. Then he lost his job. Then he. No, 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 no. You said every day. She said every day. What were you thinking, young? Oh my gosh. Just. Whew. Mm, I can't. Okay.
Yeah. And, you guys, we're talking about what Ruby was showing us, last Saturday, that this woman claimed that the guy was doing all these things to her within these 30 days, and
Mm-hmm.
she's a victim.
Right.
And then she wanted to say, I don't want anyone else to be a victim.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I came forward after he wired my jaw shut, and then the police, on their own accord, figured out he was the violent man who bit a woman's face. Oh, and by the way, I was there, but I don't want anyone else to go through what I'm going through. That's why I'm talking to the media now after the fact. What? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Lady, listen, you better just drop all the abuse part of this story because it's irrelevant to me. You're suing for $5,000. You slid in the, I feel like she slid in the abuse part of the conversation to hope that that somehow is gonna, bump up her case for the $5,000. And I'm not feeling it. Like 11 years from the beginning, 11 years. There's nothing you can tell me that's going to be like, oh, he caught you by surprise. Oh, you didn't know. You thought it would change at some 11 years, lady. No. Mm-mm.
No, not at
No.
all. And right quick, I mentioned article reaction. I'm gonna go ahead and play that little station identification. Get your running man shoes on, cause we about to do that.
Mm.
Hey, 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 folks, it's your nighttime, it's your right time DJ Music. Make sure you join Char Willie each and every Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, for Article Reaction, right here on your local YouTube channel. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe to Article Reaction.
So do check us out tomorrow, you guys. Just want to throw that in there before we continue. And we have the lovely Vonda on the panel. Welcome.
Hey, you guys. Hey, Shar. Hey, Ruby. Thanks for having me.
Hey, girl.
Anytime.
Hey.
Okay, now. So, this woman is suing her ex boyfriend that she's been with for the better part of a decade. And she's suing him for $5,000. And she wants to add into her complaint that he abused her at least once a month. Was that what it was? He beat her at least once a month for the whole time. Um, you don't get any rewards for that. You don't get a prize because you stayed and continued to get your butt kicked. One thing about it is that when it comes to abuse, this is my opinion, when it comes to abuse, may it be physical, verbal, or if there is substance abuse, those are deal breakers. Because unless that person handles their anger issues for the abuse, or they go to rehab for the substance abuse, that is going to be a very tumultuous relationship, and it's not going to get better by itself. Those types of situations don't heal themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, she stayed because that's what she wanted to do. You know, you don't get a reward because you chose to stay and get your butt kicked. At some point, I mean, I don't understand at some point, when do you say, you know, and I understand that there's a lot of psychological things that go along with abuse, but I think right now she's focusing on the wrong thing, because you know, you got out of it. So that's step number one. You got out of it. Cut your losses, sis, and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
What does she think? Does she really think she's gonna get that judgment? I mean, does he have $5,000? I mean, you know,
I'm gonna say no off the bat. No, he doesn't have it, and that adds to his
Mhm.
feelings of inferiority and anger at the world and the kick the dog syndrome. This story already, now yes, we've only heard 10 seconds of it, strikes me
Mhm.
as the kick the dog syndrome, right? So what happens? The big boss yells at the little boss, right? The little boss is powerless, can't yell back and lose his job. So what does he do? He goes and he yells at one of his employees, right? And the employee comes and he says, okay, you know what? I can't yell back at my boss. So he goes home and he screams at his wife, probably beats her. And then you know what? The wife, she's mad. She can't yell back at her husband. Her husband killed her. So she yells at the kid. And what does the kid do?
Mhm.
The kid kicks the dog, right?
Yeah.
You kick the least powerless thing in your life that's not going to kick back because you feel like the world's been punching at you. And I feel like he's one of those kinds of guys, and normally men feel that way when it has to do with earning and power in life and other places. And so when he feels like that, it's because he doesn't have money like that. He probably doesn't have a career, or it's been failing, doesn't have savings, doesn't have an income like that. So I don't know where she thinks she's going to get the $5,000 from. I hope this isn't one of these situations where she willingly gave him the money and, on some promise that one day they'll get married. And then because they didn't, she thinks she'd get her $5,000 back, because she's not going to get it and he doesn't owe it. But let's see.
Okay. All right. So let's start over. Those 10 seconds. Let's go back so everyone can catch, see
Right?
what we're talking about.
That's so much opinion for 10 seconds.
I
Yeah.
know. Huh?
Hey, that's why I said, shoot, I could just stop it right there and just have a
Wow. I wish
Right.
love conquered all, but it doesn't. Love does not conquer all. I'm already looking at Judge Mathis, and he's like, so when did that happen? And for how long? Oh,
Yeah.
and why'd you stay? He's collecting his data. I don't know what this man is gonna tell her, but it don't seem like he's gonna tell her anything nice. But that's just my prediction. We haven't played the whole video. But my thing is that if he busted you in your mouth and knocked your real tooth out from the root, she measured it 2 inches long,
okay.
and we gonna make this work. There's no coming back from a tooth busted out from the root, and you're not 5 years old. Okay, that's an adult tooth. That means you need to have a fake tooth put in there, or you gonna be walking around looking like Leon Spinks, with a big old hole in your smile. And we're gonna stay and we're gonna work that one out, and you're gonna continue
Okay.
to drink. We're gonna work that out. There's no coming back from that.
Oh, there
That
is
was
though. There
that
is,
was
and I'll explain why.
2004. She been with
Oh,
me since 2002, and that happened in 2004. Okay, that would be the end of the relationship. No,
No,
okay,
no,
we're done.
Fonda. Here's the thing. At that point, from her own testimony, he had whooped her ass 24 times. Okay, 24 times by the time we get to 2004.
That's
So,
true. Once a
right,
month, right?
once a month.
yeah.
Now, let me ask you something, Vonda. You have a man who abuses drugs and alcohol, who gets violent and whoops your ass at least once a month. And he's already mad as hell. So he does the responsible thing, which is to physically remove himself from the situation in you until he calms down. Question, Vonda. Would you follow that man in his rage and anger to go and continue the conversation, especially when he just tried to get away from the conversation? Would you go follow him outside to keep everything in rage and in heat, or would you give him the
Char,
chance to go calm himself down, which is clearly what he went to go do.
Char, where's your soundbite? Hail to the no. This
But
fool
no,
walk
no, because
outside. He walk outside. I'm locking the door, and he not getting back in. He gonna have to bust every window, and then I'll call the police. You're not getting back in. Go on and take your abusive behind outside. Thank you. I'm
Vonda
not
has
following
spoken.
no fool. I'm not following you. You go. Oh, you're good. Go right on out there. Let go on out there. I'm locking the door. And you. I don't care what you're doing out there. Don't even come back.
Right. So that's my point. And this is where, again, right there, to me, her story is already unraveling. I don't believe that this is an abusive man. I believe that this is a person who is willing to hit her back, who's willing to get into a physical fight with her. But I don't think that this is a case of her being a victim. And I know this specifically because of that one story. Because if this man has whooped your ass 23 previous times and he has an anger management issue on top of a drug and alcohol issue, and y'all are fighting about something, and he chooses to go and remove himself the situation to try to calm down, what you don't do is follow that person. You don't. You
But
give
you
that
do.
person.
But you do if you gonna listen to me, because I got something to say, because I gotta say something, because you gonna listen to
Mm,
me. You
mm.
do when you have that attitude.
Exactly. And you have that attitude from someone what? Who you don't fear. Okay? This is not a man that she feared. This is not a man
Hmm.
who was abusing her. This was a man who, yes, she might have gotten into lots of physical altercations with, and she has that mentality that, it doesn't matter. She could have punched him in his face 4 times. If he hits her back once, it's abuse. How dare he? Because he's a man. I strongly believe that that's the kind of attitude we're dealing with, that entitled type of thing where you're going to talk to me and I don't care. I'm going to keep pushing your buttons. And in a way, women, I know, because I used to kind of be like this a little bit. I'd like to push buttons, but my mom liked to push buttons. And when I was a kid, I had a major, major, major anger management issue. Now, I didn't hit people, but I would hit things and whatever. But as I became a teenager, my rage started becoming like blind red rage. And I was scared it would turn on her because she was infuriating me on purpose. And,
Okay.
I once tried to leave the house, and she stood in front of the door so she could cuss me while I can't leave. And
Mm.
the way I got her to move I was like, Mom, get the fuck out of the way. I had never sworn at her. And
Girl, no, you did.
yes. Oh, I did, because I knew that it would stop her. And I was so scared I was going to hit her or do something. I had an anger management issue. This was a real problem. Like I was 2 seconds away from losing it, and she wasn't going to move. I can't put my hands on her. She's my mother. Right. So I have to make her willingly choose to move from that door. So I did. And so I chose it on purpose. I did something to make her move, and she moved so I could go and calm down. And then we went and we spoke to my pastor, and I explained it to my pastor. Like I'm the one who brought it to her, and I'm bawling my eyes out and stuff because I felt horrible. But I was scared I was going to hurt her. The new hormones flooding through you plus an anger management issue. But it was the only way I could get her to stop talking and willingly move, right? Because she was so hurt and shocked and offended. So I've been in the presence of
Hmm.
someone who does this. I'm going to keep pushing your buttons, and I'm in control, and I'm going to stop you from moving, and blah blah blah. And then I'm going to be a victim when you react to it, right? So
Hmm.
that's exactly what I smelled off of that situation right away.
Yeah. Yep. You gonna
Mhm.
listen to me, blah blah blah. So that's
I
what that
can
was about.
I can totally see that, and
Hmm.
some people do have that sense, women in particular do have that oh no, we're going to finish this conversation. Oh no, you're going to answer me. I need answers to, why did you spend the rent money? Because who knows, maybe he tricked off the rent money with some, weed and some wine or something. He does his little thing. So she was going to go and follow him. I know what you're saying, Ruby, with, the mouth thing, back in my 20s, I was, I was mouthy chick at times, I knew how to tone it down, but I could be mouthy. And my mouth was
You?
such, yes, my mouth was such that, you'd want to hit me. But,
Damn.
the men that I dealt with, for the most part, they were they didn't believe in that. They weren't gonna hit a woman. So, you know, I would do the mouth thing, you know, and it's like I can say what I want to say. You can't hit me just because you didn't like what I said. Until I met the right one. Right? Right?
Yep.
There comes a time that you do. And you know what? I realize I don't like to get hit. That's not cute. I
No.
don't like it.
Mhm.
I'm not going to do it. So I've been in a relationship that was abusive in nature. And
Mhm.
it was my mouth that, you know, would trigger him. You know, although it
Mm.
was other things. And you know what? He didn't have a right to put his hands on me just because he didn't like what I said or how I said it.
Mhm.
But I had to realize, why are you gonna be egging this man on? Better yet, why are you in a relationship with this person?
Right.
And you
Right.
don't wait 11 years to ask yourself that.
No, I sure in the heck did not. It wasn't going to be nobody's 11 years. And you grow up and you mature. So I learned that, you know what, I don't have to, you know, have a smart mouth or antagonize another person, you know, with the things that I say. You know,
Right.
if I'm not provoking you and, you know, I'm not doing anything, what you're not going to do is you're not going to put your hands on me. I'm just not going to settle for that. There's not going to be any toleration for that. But you will come across that right one that will put their hands on you. And if
Mhm.
you are that type of woman, you're going to either fight back or you're going to take
Yeah.
that hit and you're going to cry. You're going to be a victim. And then you guys are going to kiss and make up and have that makeup sex. And then it's going to start all over again. You're going to say something
Right.
smart, you know, get all in his face. He going to slap the taste out your mouth. You're going to be like, I'm a victim. And then turn around and
Mhm.
had a little makeup sex and you start the whole process over. That can be addicting. And it's like,
Mhm.
that's a no. I don't like pain. I don't like to be hit. I don't like to be abused. I don't like to be hurt.
Right.
And you know what? And guess what? I don't like to hurt other people.
Mhm.
I don't want to hurt anybody else. So if we're in a relationship where, you know, I'm hurting you and you're hurting me, that's not a relationship that I want.
No.
And that comes with maturity.
Mhm.
Right.
Absolutely. And to be clear, I want to clarify something because I was a victim of physical abuse, a physically abusive relationship for. I was in that relationship for 3.5 years. The abuse itself lasted the first like 6 to 8 months, and then one day I had a come to Jesus moment with him because it was a come to Jesus moment for me. It was like, if you ever put your hands on me again, I will cut off your balls. He woke up in the middle of the night, and I literally my knees, I was straddling over him and my knees were like on top of his arms so he couldn't have moved them. His hands were like near his head, and I had a knife to his throat, and I just said, if you ever put your hands on me again, I will cut off your balls in your sleep. I was very like, it was very calm. I wasn't angry or screaming or whatever. It was just a realization. I cannot have you ever hit me again. I can't do it. So what are we going to do now? And so that was it. And to be fair, for the remainder of that relationship, another 2.5 3 years, he never did. But I will say, for that whole 6 month period, I wasn't it wasn't we were getting into arguments and I was antagonizing him and da 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 da. He's an abusive person. So he would be drinking and whatever, and then the littlest nothingness would trigger him. Right. And it didn't
Mhm.
start that way. He charmed me first, and he became like the one person I was relying on, and da 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 da. And then boom, one day it was getting slapped upside my head for something, and then it just escalated and escalated and escalated. So one day my whole face was black and blue. And I was a teenager. I was 16, 17. I didn't really have anyone to rely on at the time. I was on the outs with both my parents. And he was a lot older than me. So I felt kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Um, Now, that to me is abusive.
Mhm.
That relationship was abusive. I don't, I have dated people who have put their hands on me, but in my opinion, I earned it because I was trying to make them. I was trying to make them snap. I was poking and poking and poking and poking because I had so
Mhm.
much damage internally in me, and I wanted them to. I was trying to trigger them. I was doing damn near everything short of boxing with their nose, to try to make them snap and do something terrible. I was trying to make it happen. And then when it happened, I felt good inside, almost like I won. I won because I brought them down into the muck with me, right? I don't consider those people abusive. And so now some people, they have a really hard line as far as, well, if a man ever puts his hands on a woman, I don't care what the woman did, he's abusive. I don't have that hard line. And I've been in an abusive relationship before, because there's a difference when someone is intentionally instigating you and they are poking and prodding, especially when you're at your weakest, most vulnerable moments, trying to get you to break. There's only so much of that anyone can handle. And then if
That's
they
right.
just keep escalating and escalating and escalating, then I'm going to start doing insulting things. So I didn't hit you technically, but I'm going to touch you. I'm gonna touch you. It's gonna be softly, but I'm doing it in an insulting way. You said don't touch you, fine, I'll touch you. Right? I'm just gonna keep upping the ante until you do me
Mhm.
something. Right? To me, I'm sorry, I'm not looking at those women like they're blameless, because I feel like you did him something first. So, just like
Yep.
if you spit inside of someone's face, didn't physically hurt them, but that's called assault. So I take it the same way. So I just want to clarify
Exactly.
that. Mm-hmm.
All
Well,
right. Let me play a little bit more. Okay, here we go.
the police,
Now she says she protected him.
girl,
I
you
want to
know,
abuse him. I want to misuse him. I want to be in control of him because I know he got a record I'm gonna have more control. It's gonna be hard for him to work and all these things. This is what I like to do. So she was a puppet master.
Yep.
and there was
Yep.
a great amount of dysfunction on both sides. Because I'm just gonna put this out
Yes,
there. What do you want to bet that she was responsible for his basic needs? Didn't sound like this man had a job, because you know what? If you're dealing with a woman who, you get into these arguments with and it escalates, you're trying to diffuse it by walking away. And she's like, oh no, you're going to listen to me. She was trying to control him. She tried to control him with the police, and she put you in jail. Called the police. I mean, granted, you did knock her tooth out. They were both culpable. But then
Mm.
you turned around and stayed. And you want to
Mhm.
complain that she called the police on you 18, 20 times, too many to count. And she want to say, oh, I didn't call the police more times than I can even count. But I didn't call my brothers because I was trying to protect them from my brothers, because they would have killed him. But the police was just going to lock him up. And then I was going to be in control because I'm going to bond him out. And then guess where he's coming to stay? If she's putting him in jail and bonding him out, that fool ain't got no job.
Mm. No,
exactly.
he had a job though,
He's
because remember he
supporting
got
him.
arrested at work. He said
Hmm.
they had a Monday night fight, got arrested on Friday. They came, scooped him up from work. So
He can't
it's
keep a job. Not with her, not arguing with her. He can't keep no job.
mm,
Because
Exactly.
he gonna put
mm-hmm.
his hands on her. She gonna talk some straight grimy mess to him. He gonna put his hands on her. She gonna, oh, you know what? I'm calling the police. My best friend. She gonna call the police, and
Hmm.
then guess what she's gonna do? Okay, let me go get him out of jail. I've been in this house by myself long enough. Let me go get him out. And then when she gets him home, now this is what you gonna damn do. You like, look, Latasha, what her name is? Yeah, I'm not gonna be doing what you tell me to do. It starts
Hmm.
another argument. He pop her in the mouth. She called the police. It starts to cycle over.
Mm.
They were both culpable. I'm not gonna put it all on her. I'm gonna say he was a fool for staying. She was a fool for staying as well.
Well, I'm going to speak a little bit about his side, but I'm going to go
Mm.
ahead and play some more.
Exactly.
Well,
That's what I
does the
think.
child still
No,
not need to be taken care of, whether they're in a relationship or not, or whether he's with somebody or not? At the
he
end of
was
the
in
day,
prison. Listen, Vonda, here's the thing. Let's be realistic about life. Okay. You're in prison making what, 7 cents a day? How is he paying child support? In and of itself. Now, it's not about whether he owes child support or not, or
Hmm.
whether or not when he comes out of prison, he should can resume taking care of his kid. But if you are currently in prison, you can't pay child support on account of the fact that you can't work because you're in prison. So let's not be unreasonable about the fact that he got behind in child support because he was in prison, right? And
catch up,
let's
catch
go
up,
back.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got to catch up, but he
catch
just
up.
got out of prison. He just got out of
You
prison.
know what?
Now you're a felon. No. Hold on. Let's be reasonable, because
Hmm.
I'm tired of these unreasonable narratives. Because the same narrative that, just bang the gavel on this guy right now is the same narrative that's going to go put him back into prison for unpaid child support. When is that kid ever going to get any money, let alone time with her father, when he's spending all of his time in prison because he can't pay child support now? Now, here's the problem with that. So he was in prison. We already know, as a
Mhm.
black man, you come out of prison whether you were innocent or not. Now you got a record, okay? How easy is it for you to find gainful employment? Oh, super easy, right? No, of course it's not. It's incredibly difficult. So he's already got to go through those motions on top of obviously keeping up with probation officers, probably also keeping up with Alcoholics Anonymous and a bunch of other conditions, right? Cool. Now, do I think you should have to do all of those things? Absolutely. But the point is, things take time. Then, from then, though, right, you also have to live somewhere. You're going to have to pay rent there. You're going to have to pay for your ability to get to and from places, right? Because the only way he's ever paying that child support is if he's not on welfare or something, because ultimately he just got out of prison and can't find a job because he's a felon. Okay,
Right.
so then he gets a job. But before he can even get two nickels to rub together, now he's getting drugged back into court, taking more time off of maybe a job he just found. How many new jobs have you ever gotten that said, sure, you can take time off in the first 3 months when you haven't passed probation? Oh, wait, none? Great. So now he's got to find a new job. But fine. So now he owes this $5,000. He just lost the job he just got because, hey, he had to come into court to argue about whether or not he owes child support, even though he's not really arguing that fact at all. But fine. Okay. And so now how is he going to pay the child support? Well, he's not going to, but now you have an immediate order that says, well, you got to pay in the next 30 days. So when he doesn't and he goes back to prison for non-payment of the child support or come up with the 5,000 in like 2 seconds, then what happens? Right? So how many times are we going to send this one black man to prison for unpaid child support before we realize that this is not the way to handle this situation?
Well, the thing that they should have done at this point, if they figure out, hey, we're not going to be together, they should be at least be amicable. But the fact of the matter is, this was a very dysfunctional, abusive relationship on both sides. Okay. So what it's boiled down to is that at the end of the day, what this man is going to have to do, he's going to have to deal with this bitter woman, because now after 11 years of getting her butt kicked and a tooth knocked out and all of the stuff she done went through with this man voluntarily, we're not going to just, glide by that voluntarily. She's upset. She bitter. Let's just call it what it is. She bitter. And then he got the nerve to get out and be with another chick. Okay. But okay. It doesn't even matter that she has a lifetime restraining order on this fool. Now, at some point, Mr. Harris, this dude, he gonna have to get his shiznit together. He gonna have to stop the drinking. He's going to have to get a job and keep a job, because it doesn't sound like he's been able to keep a job. Now, what I would recommend, and who knows if this would work. I don't know how reasonable this woman is. I don't know how reasonable she is. If, he could just, try to talk to her and say, look, we're not together, but, let's work this out, for the sake of, little Tatiana, their daughter or whatever. Let's try to work this out and, give me time to get a job. And this is what I'm going to do. But he actually really needs to be on his shit and do the stuff that he say he's going to do. But it just seems like there's this back and forth with the two of them, because they're not even together and they arguing in court.
Well, they're not together anymore. And it is, again, back with what Ruby is saying with the job. The man had a job. He was going to work. But whatever's going on with this woman, she got to interrupt that. Oh, he did this, whether it was true or not, which I really don't believe it's true. That's just my opinion. He did this. So you couldn't wait until he got off work. You had to do what, call the police. What's all this calling the police? Now with the guy, unfortunately, I don't know when the situation, but let's think about it. When you have a young man, he might have been 19, don't have a lot, working at Popeyes, the first job out of high school or whatever. And they had no children. And then most parents tell you, don't do drugs, don't smoke, don't get high, don't do any of these things. But what happens? You try it anyway. So he could have been one. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with a little weed. Ha ha ha. Put a little weed on the weekend. Okay, she met him. He was doing that. She knew that. Okay, so why is it a problem? Why is it a problem that you have to introduce it as evidence? You knew that when you met him. You didn't meet him on January 1st and loved him.
Right.
No, so that's not even it. You don't even have to talk about that. Okay, so time go on. You see if he drinks and if it's a problem. Let's say it's a problem. Oh, this dude got a problem. And it's been whatever, I don't know, 45 days. 80 the 89th day. That's for you, Vonda. And I want to I like him and I want to stay with him. I think he gonna be good. And I loves him. But he got a problem. It's like, he got this, he drink too much. Well, you said that to yourself, then that's you making a decision that you're going to stay with him. That's up to you. The first time he hit you, whether it was intentional or not, you stayed. Second time, you stayed. The next month, you stayed. The next year, you stayed. 5 years later, you stayed. But you in his face. You're calling the police. There is no way this man can keep a job with that. You can't. And this is before a child came into play. She was doing this to him. Now, who knows? Let's be honest with how life is sometimes. You can be in a situation once you leave your parents' home, grandparents, or whoever you're staying with, and you get with a woman that willing to get an apartment, y'all scrape y'all little nickels together and want to stay together. Okay, fine. Maybe that the mama of this girl let them stay there in her house. You never know. But whatever was going on, which the mom wasn't mentioned, but I'm just saying it's a scenario. We know how it is when it comes to the neighborhood, with our neighbors, our some of our situations with our friends. But if you just look at the black man situation, it can be tough holding a job. And to call the police on this man every time you get mad at him. Well, I wanted to talk to him and he didn't want to listen. Well, he'll listen now. And what do you think going to happen when you fill out the application? They want to know, you have a felony? Have you, these things, it affects a man's ability to work. And that's nice. You went and bailed him out. But why did you call the police? Why? And you're talking about you were protecting him.
Yep.
Protect him. Why don't you protect yourself and leave him alone if that was the actual case?
No, because it was all about control and dominance. See what happened?
Yeah, you're right, Ruby. She wanted to control him, and he wasn't listening to her. He wasn't
Exactly. So like he needed to be a child. And see what happens is, right, when you find a man that is weak enough to stay in particularly emotionally abusive situations, right? Because that's really what she did. She found a man that was weak enough to stay in an emotionally manipulative and abusive situation. And then what she wanted him to do was just bow to it, but he wouldn't. He wouldn't because he wasn't broken down enough. So what she set out to do is to emasculate him so she could control him. And you could hear it in every story they told. Like, for example, right? You can easily say to someone, do not drink in my house. Do not drink in my house. And they go, okay, and leave it alone. But that's not what she did. She then set about going to his bottle of alcohol that he had somewhere in his bag or whatever and pouring it out down the drain in front of him. Like, yo, that's your teenager and you confiscated it from him. That's not supposed to make a man furious. You took something of mine and now you're draining it down. Like, I'm not with you. You don't have control over what I do when I leave this or what I'm allowed to own. Right? But she did that on purpose to emasculate him, to break him down. And if she felt free and wild enough to do that while they were already apart, then I just imagine it's times 10 when they were together. Everything she said, he had to follow. He wanted to go out with his boys. No, he's not going. You better not be going out on that road. Oh, I know you're not going to want to be going out on that road. Oh, I'm going to make you sorry. You better not. Right? And then, okay, she's going to make him sorry. There's a punishment. And the punishment is to break him down and control him. And when the other things don't work, what do? You pick up the phone and you call. How does she know that the abuse happened once a month? Whatever. Because think about that, right? I want you to think about this. Let's think about what an abusive relationship is. Abusive relationships do not sit there and stay contained 29 days of the month, except for that one day of the month that, it's like PMS, right? It just blows out of control. No, that is the most ridiculous bullshit I've ever heard. That's not the way abusive relationships work. They start off nice and congenial, and then things escalate. First, it's, maybe verbal and mental, emotional, right? Then the physical starts. Maybe it's a push first, and then it's a smack, and then it's a this, and then it's a that. It escalates, and then eventually gets to the place where it's like every day. Okay, so if you're in an abusive relationship for 11 years, towards the end of that 11 years, you're talking about a daily thing. Now, we had the a-hole corner very generously calculate how many times once a month for 11 years is. It's 132 times. So you're trying to tell me 132 times, and you kept count, of course, that this man abused you. You called the police 20 times out of that. It seems like the times that you called was not even immediately in the middle of the situation. Now, if you're in an abusive relationship, you are fearing for your life. This man is going to kill you, because that's why you're calling the police, right? It's not punitive. It's to save yourself, because she wants to protect him, right? Don't you call the police while it's happening? You don't call the police 5 days later. You don't call the police 3 days later, right? And then bail him out afterwards. No. You call the police in the moment. In the moment. Any police officer could tell you that when normally in abusive type situations, regardless of who's abusing who, the police get called when? In the heat of the moment, when it's all happening now and normally out of fear, right? And that's why then afterwards the spouse will pull back their statement, because in the moment they were scared. But now that everything's calmed down and settled down, they want to take it back because, he's made the promises now and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But that's not what happened here. So I frankly don't believe her. I don't. And I'm not saying that he never put his hands on her or he never did any crazy stuff or whatever. What I'm saying, though, is the assertion that this was an abusive relationship, one way, poor little old her, and he's just abusing her because of his drug and alcohol issue, and that's it. And she was just a good, wife sitting at his knee and just there for whatever. Why is he being so mean to me? I was just trying to help and support him. That's bullshit. I don't believe her, and nobody should believe her, because the way that she laid this out doesn't follow the narrative of the way that it works, period, in any way, shape, or form. And so then we got to look at, okay, well, what did she do then? Well, if she's the reason why he can't keep a job, and I actually know somebody who did this to a man. She's a friend of mine. She's come a long way as far as repairing that and recognizing the damage she did to a man who started off, actually, he was a good, sweet, calm man. He's never put his hands on a woman before, ever, until the woman he's with now, or, well, I guess they've broken up now, but that woman. And she slowly set about breaking him down. And she did it on purpose. And she used tactics like calling the police to manipulate and control. When I feel like, what, this time he might get the better of me, I'm going to call the police on him, to smack him down, to whip him, to let him know his place. Because even if I was dead ass in the wrong, I can call the police. Watch, I'm going to show you. I can call the police, tell them some sad little story, and you're the one going away in handcuffs, not me, brah. Watch.
Okay,
you'll see.
So that's a given. That's a given that, she has that quote unquote power over him as long as they're together. Mm-hmm. So when does he empower himself to say, you know what, I'm tired of this BS. I'm tired of being in my own home and having the police called on me. I'm tired of not being able to relax and be, have a clear mind without, someone, barreling down on me. At what point does he take responsibility for his own life. You know this
Mm-hmm.
woman is like this. You've been in this tumultuous relationship with her for a number of years. Stop letting her run you, because it took her. Now, peep this. All of this
Mm-hmm.
going on for 11 years. It took her to get a lifetime restraining order for them to even be broken up. But what did
Mm.
she say? I still love him. I still love him. She didn't even want to do that. But it took that. It took her to put a restraining order on him for a lifetime for him to leave her alone.
She only did that because she had to, because her car was gone.
Yep.
That's the only reason why she did that.
Yep. Absolutely. And the only reason why he was gone for 3 days is because he was sure, as usual, she was going to call the police on him, and he just didn't want to go back to prison. It's
Yep.
what it is. And I think this is the thing. You're absolutely right, Vonda, because I'm not calling him a helpless, innocent victim either, right? They both ain't shit in this scenario. They both victimized themselves because both of them had pre-existing brokenness
Mm-hmm.
when they met each other, right? And this is what we say all the time. Like, if you just keep meeting broken man after broken man after broken man, you got to understand that you're putting broken energy out there in the world. And so like attracts like, right? It's like magnets. So what you need to realize is they were two broken people, and his brokenness and her brokenness came together in this codependent, dysfunctional way, destructive way, to basically hurt both of them really in the long run. I'm not even sure if she understands yet the destruction that's caused to her life. I think he kind of understands the destruction that it caused to his life. I don't think she understands the destruction it's caused to her mentally and emotionally, because she tried to rein it in. She tried to rein it in, but she felt so happy and victorious and petty and small about this little victory, about Judge Mathis buying into her version of events and whatever. And you could see those little flickers of reaction in her face, right?
Yeah.
So that tells you that, like, she's I love him. I always love him, but I'm not going to be with him anymore. But she's still wholly consumed by him. Wholly consumed by
Oh,
him.
yeah.
I think he left though. I think after when he disappeared for them 3 days with that car, the
Hmm.
restraining order came because they just had no choice. I think he finally got enough, had to stay away so he can try to get some employment and keep it, so she
Hmm.
wouldn't keep calling the police on him. And he moved on. And
Hmm.
then she finds out, he comes to see his daughter or whatever, or going to pick up his daughter. Oh, where you going? What, you moved? You got somebody? Oh no, I need some child support.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. And he was trying to explain it. I wish, to be fair, I wish Judge Mathis, I know they don't have forever. I wish he had allowed more of that story to unfold. Like, you made a
Yeah.
judgment about the money, but honestly, y'all didn't have any conversation about this money. Now, on one side, I understand why you didn't, because one way or the other, no matter what, you are the father of this child, you owe that money. So you can make a judgment on that regardless, unless he already paid it. You make a judgment on it, he's going to owe that money at the end of the day. So I understand why he didn't have to hear the story to judge in her favor, because
And
it's
that's
Mhm.
for
what's
back
very
child
true.
support.
That's
But
very true.
right, but I
If she
wish,
was, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, but I wish that he had allowed that story to unfold a little bit more, because I wanted to hear those circumstances. Because he said, like, for example, that he was already giving her money for the child, but because there was no records of it, because he wasn't on child support yet, she went to the court and got back child support for all of this child's life, as though he hadn't been paying for the child. So he did say that he got that part of it
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
And I do believe that that's probably true. Like, he seems like a little bit lost and weak, as I said,
Mhm.
but he also seems like that's probably fair. Yeah, he probably was paying money for his kid because he was there. He went to go see this destructive relationship woman, just to go see his kid, right? So he probably was giving money when he could, or whatever it was, right? And
Yeah.
yet that's ignored by the courts, and I do feel bad about that. Like, I wish, like you said, why can't they work together? Like, it's not about you. It's about this kid. At the end of the day, we're talking about the relationship, but this kid in the middle is the one who's losing, right? This kid in the middle is the one who doesn't see daddy anymore, is going to be growing up just one of the many faces. It's like a sea of faces now of kids who's your daddy? I don't know. You know,
Right.
because they can't get it together, because they can't work together for what's best for the child.
Well, you want to know what's missing from this story? You know, we heard, you know, how much she loved him. He didn't mention a lick of love. He didn't mention like or
Mm-mm.
care or
Mm-mm.
anything about this woman at this point. He didn't mention any of that. And I would venture to think that he probably, you know, probably hates her guts. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so why he stayed, you know, only he would be able to tell us that. You know, she say she stayed because she loved him. She still loves him now. And we have already discerned that, you know, okay, well, yeah, may have been love, but she had a certain amount of control over this man that she tried to, you know, exalt over him. She wasn't always able to keep it, but she used these, you know, evil tactics to keep control over him. And he just kept going back. He just kept going back. You know, a man who has his own, you know, who is confident, has his own, and does not depend on the woman that he's with, he's gonna strike. And I don't mean strike her. I mean, he's gonna leave.
Yeah.
He's going to leave. And it's not going to be after 11 years after he done got out of jail and she done put lifetime, you know, restraining order on him. I think he should have cut his losses years prior to her. And what makes it so bad is it wasn't like they had this baby the first year of that 11 years that they were together.
Exactly.
This baby was 4 years old at quote unquote at the time of their breakup. So they went through a whole bunch of hell and fury, just the two of them. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what the hell was he staying there for? I see what she was doing. She was trying to have her man. She was trying to keep him. She was trying to control him. She was trying to run the show. What the freak was he doing?
This is normal. And see, this was part of the issue, is that he likely grew up in a home with either just a single domineering mother or with a parent or a mother-father relationship in the household where the mother was like this with the father. So for him, this is normal. And that's why he's staying in it. Part of him feels like, yo, this is wrong. I don't like it. That's why he's fighting back against it. But at the same time, it's normal to him. And this is part of the issue. When people grow up with so much dysfunction in the house, that's all they know. So even though they hear, you know, unicorn stories and lollipop fairy tales about, you know, peace in the household and two people who work together and love each other and blah, 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 they think that's BS, or they think that's for other kinds of people. It's not for them, right? Because they know what normal looks like to them, and that's not it. And that's the unfortunate part. He stayed for so long. She's doing this. He's doing this. Why? Because they think it's normal. Right? Because there's no other way. If you think this kind of thing is abnormal, there's no way you stay in it for 11 years. You don't. Like, and have a kid halfway through that. You don't. It's impossible.
Right. On the last end of it, they had that kid right before they broke up. The last 5 years of their relationship is when they had their kid. So they had like what, good 6 years of some crap. You know, it wasn't mentioned whether she had other children and, you know, he was, you know, in the home with, you know, some other kids that, you know, he was helping her to raise or whatever, you know. But I think she brought up, you know, all of, you know, his indiscretions to sensationalize her story, which really didn't have anything to do with the child support. The kid needs to eat. Doesn't matter whether he's in jail or he's out of jail or what type of fight they had. The baby still needs diapers, clothes, shoes, food, you know, heat, all of that. Baby still needs all of that regardless. And that's really what that judgment was all about. That's really what that judgment was all about. It had nothing to do with all that abuse. They just sat up there and just put all their business out there for TV.
No, it wasn't for TV. See, what happened was right? What she wanted to do was ruin his life forever, right? So if she can get her narrative out there to the world, right? And again, we know our people love these court TV shows, right?
Mhm.
Then every possible eligible bachelorette out there is going to have seen this story, right? So now he's a drunken, drug abusing, woman abusing loser who doesn't take care of his kids, right? So now she can just ruin any future prospects. Now she doesn't have to share him with a new woman, right? Because that new woman's about to see this story and go, oh, I didn't know that about you, and bounce. And now he'll be all alone. And now, even though she has got a restraining order, now she can be like, well, there's always me. You can always come back over here. I'll always love you despite all of your faults and what a terrible person you are, right? Like,
I want to continue to control you. Come on back over
yeah,
here.
right?
I want to have some fun.
The bed is warm, baby. The bed is warm. Come on over. I mean, that's what it
Mm,
seems
mm,
like. And
mm.
the unfortunate part about it, right, is I don't think that this guy even understands that he has a problem, right? Like he understands that this has devastated his life and his future. I don't think he understands he has a problem, right? Like
Mhm.
uh, regardless of how she chose to handle it, the point is he did show up to see his kid while heavily intoxicated, right? Enough that you
Mhm.
reek of booze. Now, maybe you reek of booze from the night before, so you're still technically drunk from the night before, and then you grab the alcohol for a little hair of the dog or blah blah blah. The point is that if that's how you're showing up to see your kid, you've got a problem. You've got a substance abuse problem at that point. Maybe you're not an alcoholic. Maybe you're using it literally kind of like as a self-medicating thing. Instead of you being actually addicted to the alcohol, it's more that you're addicted to hiding from your deeper pain and trauma. But I don't think he understands that he needs help, which is indicated by the fact that this relationship ended, and we don't know exactly what it's tied to, but we do know he just got out of prison for a DUI, right? So even while he's not in this relationship, he's staying drunk and high, right? So that tells you, okay, he's got issues. You need help, sir. And it would have been great if the judge had mentioned that, but I think that this woman played him like a fiddle. She knew
Yeah.
exactly what points to push. That way, Judge Mathis, that internal man would kick in, that internal father would kick in, and now he's just looking at you, just grimy. You're just a grimy loser, right? And so that was that. And then at that point, you don't feel any sympathy or empathy for the man. All your sympathy and empathy goes towards the woman, and you're not there anymore to advise the young man, right? Because he did stuff you wouldn't have done. But
Yeah, that's unfortunate because he needs some attention too.
mhm,
Um, just in general, from what I've known of men, being around them, dating them, all that good stuff, sometimes they can just be in a funk. It starts off real subtle. Hey, man, you want to get high? Let's try this. Okay. And you try whatever you try. You start off with the small stuff. You get a bottle of alcohol, you try it. Hey, that was fun,
mhm,
even though they got sick.
mhm,
And then they move on to the next thing. And then they smoking what cigarettes. They can get that from, borrow that from somebody. That's simple. Do that.
mhm,
Then move on to marijuana. Then move on to whatever else. If they stop at marijuana, okay, fine. Okay, that's
mhm,
a great high. They enjoyed it. Okay, and a drink. All right. I like this. They just doing what they do. Have a good, they call it a weekend. I'm getting my buzz on. I'm relaxing, finish work, whatever. Out of school, if they're in college. Okay. Seems so simple. But when the pressure come on from whatever going on in life, stress, whatever that may be, then you can be doing it a little bit more and it can be a problem and you don't know it. That's possible. A lot of these young men can come from a home where it's just dysfunctional. And once they get with a woman and they just want to be with her and they together and everything, sexing it up, okay, fine. And then some more dysfunction come, but it's in a different way now, because now it's your significant other. Now she's tripping, as they say. Oh, she tripping. Now she want to get mad. She talking my ear off. She following me outside. She's telling my boys this. She talking to her girlfriend saying that. She's now she calling the police on me. She got so mad because I didn't do this. This girl is tripping. And they can ignore that when it first starts. This boy was 19, I think, at the time, 20 at the most, probably, when it first started. And then time, go on, and he's thinking he can work through it, whatever. He's self-medicating. It's so simple. So simple. And he just doesn't know that eventually now it's a problem. Now he's relying on numbing himself to deal with his circumstances. I
And
see this too many times with young men.
and it just and we can see that it creates an entirely different problem.
Mhm.
Because it sounds to me that she didn't come from a very wholesome family either. So she chose to deal with drama. Her dysfunction was, I like to have drama, I like to have a whole bunch of stuff going on, and if I get hit in the process, that's just part of her dysfunction. His dysfunction is, okay, let me smoke this weed, I'm gonna drink because she getting on my nerves, I don't want to hear her mouth. So it's like you have two dysfunctional people in a relationship, and they both made a decision to stay. What do you expect? What happened with them? I expect every single bit of it. Everything that happened with both of them in the dysfunction of that relationship, regardless of where it came from, they both chose to stay in it, and they both are going to reap what they sow.
Yeah, and I
I'll
think
say this,
oh, go ahead.
like, unless it's a case where he got the DUI from that time where he took her car, because she knew that he reeked of alcohol at the time he jumped into the car. He might have
Mhm.
showed up drunk too, so maybe that's where he got the DUI. Short of that, though, I'm gonna say this, right? Because I do say a-hole corner over there saying, well, she would make me drink, but they broke up, and then he still continued drinking, right? So this is clearly a problem he had before, during, and after the relationship. So that means it's deeper than her. And I'll say this now: I have an ex-boyfriend. It's time for a little story time with Ruby. So I had an ex-boyfriend that I dated from the time I was like 19 to 22, and I was an alcoholic at the time. Now I was an alcoholic for exactly this reason. I was numbing pain and trauma from my past, and so I didn't feel feelings at all. Like, literally, I had zero feelings at all. Nothing good, nothing bad. But I was started falling in love with this man. I could tell it was kind of conceptual, and I said, "Listen, if I allow me to feel love for you, I'm probably going to allow me to feel a whole bunch of other negative feelings with it. Are you down to roll with this or not? Because I can keep the door shut, or I could let the floodgates open, but there's no in between." He said, yeah, let the floodgates open. And I got to say, I was a holy hell of a nightmare for about 4 years. I was. The whole
Mm.
relationship, between depression and PTSD and the drinking, man, I was a nightmare. Guarantee I was fine. So eventually we break up. I won't tell the whole breakup story. Now it's a few years later, and this man called me. We have not been together for 3 years. We've not talked to each other in over two. Okay. And he calls me, and he's been drinking, I can tell. And he's crying, telling me how I ruined his life.
Oh no.
Right. So I'm like, but how did I ruin your life? Right. And so then he tells me how in the last 90 days, he has not one, not two, but three DUIs technically. So like, basically you can get two different types of DUI in Canada. You can get one where you blow like very close to the legal limit, where it's still like they're going to take your license away, because technically if they made you sit there for 20 minutes and blow again, you might have failed. They take your license away for like a short period of time, somewhere between a week and 30 days, and then you get the full-blown DUI. And so you got like three of those in 90 days. In the last 90 days, I'm like, okay, so I listened to his sob story and blah blah blah, and I said, okay, cool, but what does this got to do with me, right? Because we broke up like 3 years ago, so you're not talking about from 3 years ago. I did something terrible to you that now has repercussions in your life. Now you're talking about stupid decisions you made now. Remember, when I was with that man, I got a DUI. He watched me go through that whole process. It was not a great process to go through, definitely a good smack in the face. Did not like having my license gone and having to take buses now and walking but I went through it.
Mhm.
So I certainly didn't, and to be fair, um it was a whole thing. I probably could have fought it and won. I just didn't have money or support to actually have a lawyer because I failed the breathalyzer because I took like a handful of Frisk, which Frisk has been taken off of the market because it was causing people to blow over because it had a small alcohol content in it.
What? Sorry, Ruby, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what is Frisk? What is that?
It was a very powerful breath mint. It's a
Oh,
little teeny tiny white breath mint. You put it in your mouth, man. It freshens up your breath like crazy. But it had a small alcohol content. If you put enough of them in your mouth and blow into your breathalyzer, you're gonna fail.
uh,
I actually hadn't had enough alcohol given my weight and height for me to have been over the legal limit.
mhm.
And they should have known, given the fact that at the station, my blood alcohol content apparently dropped like, like 40 points in 5 minutes. But, either way, it doesn't matter. I took my L because it is what it is. You watched me go through all this, sir. You didn't have anything to do with it. And at the end of the day, you should have learned your lessons from my mistakes. But he didn't. And I remember he had gotten a few of those, the slap on the wrist version of the DUI while we were together, even because he had never learned the lesson of don't drink and drive, right? He always thought he was fine. He always thought he was better than alcoholics. He always thought he was better than people who needed to drink. And he would sit there and look down upon all the people at the bar while he was drinking there with them, right? But he was better than them somehow, even though he was still there every day with them. And so now he's calling me 3 years later to blame me for his problems that he's accrued all on his own that have nothing to do with me.
Oh, okay.
Now I found out that this was actually literally like a month before his wedding, and now he wasn't going to be able to do the driving he needed to do because his license is gone and da 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 da. But that was my fault somehow, right? So this is like, the concept of not being able to take accountability for your own actions and choices, right? You want to blame it on someone else. Oh, she was such a nightmare. So yeah, I was a nightmare. I agree. I was horrible. Okay. That was 3 years ago. You can't tell me once we're not together anymore that I am now at fault for all of your life's problems. And see, but this is now I know a-hole corner was just joking. But I'm still gonna say I think that this is a major issue that we have going on where we don't know how to take accountability for our choices, and we don't know how to tell the difference between a choice we should be taking accountability for and then somewhere where we're victimized, right? Like you might have been victimized when someone hits you. Okay, in that moment, I understand you're a victim. You didn't ask them to physically hit you. You didn't hit them first, so they hit you. Okay, you're a victim, right? When you choose to stay in that relationship, though, right? And then you choose to fight back, and you choose to start playing games and start playing dirty and da 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 da. Well, those are choices that you make. This is how you chose to deal with that initial victimization, right? You weren't stuck there. You weren't trapped there.
Yeah,
You
you
weren't
weren't
a child.
involuntary. It wasn't an involuntary type of victimization. What they don't take accountability for, and what she didn't take accountability for, is that she signed up and volunteered and went and got the abuse that she
Mm-hmm.
claimed she suffered for the 132 months that she dealt with this man. But out of 132 months, and he was whooping your behind once a month, you only called 20 times?
Right.
Only 20 times?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was too
And
many times to count. I lost count after 20. I'm sorry,
130
Your
times.
Honey.
He called
Oh,
130 times. Each time
oh,
he put his hands on her. I don't
woe is me. Oh,
like, so she was I feel like she's just as culpable for, each slap she took, because it was like, instead of getting him out of your life, you went and picked him up from the police station, paid the money to get him out, and then you proceeded to dig into his behind when he got home because he wanted to have a drink because he didn't want to hear you, and then he pops you in the mouth, and it's like, oh my God, I'm a victim again. Girl.
Yeah, that is just really dysfunctional in that child. Now, we didn't have the child at first, but now we have a child involved. What the heck is she going to teach this child? Because right now, what I'm seeing on display is bad. She is not teaching this daughter and it's a daughter. Oh my goodness. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yes. You
Oh,
never thought there was a problem. This is a little girl. So you have to understand that this little girl has learned one of two lessons, right? She's either learned that being hit by a man is right and okay, and that kind of dysfunctional, co-abusive relationship is normal, right? Or she's learned that doing everything in your power to manipulate and control and break down and emasculate a man is the right thing for women to do. Either way, these are not good lessons that we want to be passing down to our little girls. True. Right? She might not meet a man like daddy. She might meet the wrong one to play that game with today. He don't care. He will beat you black and blue. He will stomp on you. Oh, he thinks that you're about to call the police on him. You mentioned police, he will kill you. Right? She might meet the wrong one to be playing these games with. And part of the issue is that unfortunately, because women are used to this idea that, I'm protected in that way. Men shouldn't hit me. Men don't hit women, blah, blah, blah. It might be very common in your family. You might be hearing this a lot from the old school regime. So as a result, you don't see an issue with passing this down to the younger generation, but understand that society is changing. Society is changing. And the more that society changes, the more that we're fighting for equality, the more that we're trying to fight to prove that women are not just little, delicate, fragile wallflowers. Women can be just as powerful as men. Women can this and that. The more that we fight for that, right? The more that we break this ideal that women are fragile flowers to be protected and therefore you can't hit them back. And then once you get that mentality at all, right, then you get the mentality of the men who not only will hit you back, but are willing to hit you first, the same way that a man's willing to hit a man first, right? Because you disrespected me. So now the rules have changed. And now a man is going to hit you for all of the reasons he would hit another man. So if another man disrespects him, he's going to pop him in the jaw. So now you're going to be disrespectful. He's going to pop you in the jaw.
But
right?
see, the way I see that is that, even though, okay, women may have in the back of their minds, oh, well, if he hits me, I'll just call the police. Okay, lady, you know what? Granted, you got that one. But I'm going to tell you the thing that I learned. Like I said, I dealt with, a number of gentlemen who didn't matter how smart my mouth got, they just were not going to hit me because they weren't hitters until I met the right one. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I don't give a damn, you're going to get hit. And what I learned from that, is that, okay, I can get hit and I can call the police, but that's no win for me because I freaking got hit. That shit hurts. I don't want to get hit. I don't want my tooth knocked out just because I have the ability to call the police and he'll go to jail because he knocked my tooth out from the root. That's not a safety net for me.
There's no win-win.
Yeah, there's no win with that. It's like, yeah, I can call the police and get them, picked up if I say something real, grimy to him and get him picked up. But I still got hit. So there is no win for that. So yeah, you can probably get your face beat in and he'll go to jail, but your face is beaten in.
Right, no respect.
Your eye socket is broken. I mean, that's no good. No good. Because then, what is the next man going to get? This broken up, bandaged, super glued woman back together. No.
Super glue.
Well, I mean, bones all broken in your face. No, we don't want that. It's like what you want is to, recognize the toxicity in the relationship and say, you know what? Yeah, I do have the power to call the police, but do I really want my face bashed in or to miss a whole tooth knocked out from the root just to get back at him? Not worth it. Not worth it, ladies.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Well, don't you want to have respect for that man? Don't you want to be proud of him? If
No.
you
She didn't
talk
sound like
crap to him,
she didn't respect him. It didn't.
right? If you treat him like that, where's the respect? You can't be proud of him. If you want to punch on something and be in control of something, get you a Barbie doll. They still make those. You
Yeah.
can change his clothes. You can dye the hair now. You can braid it. You can do so many different things. You can manipulate that Barbie in so many different ways. I'm not sure about the Ken doll. I'm not sure if they have the hair or is it still that plastic thing. But just pretend, you know, get you a Barbie doll and manipulate it as much as you want. Get the clothes, shoes, all of that. Put some makeup on it, and you're in control. But you can't do that of a whole human being, especially a man.
No.
Right.
That guy was only in a bad situation, whatever that was, low self-esteem, whatever he had going on. I don't know. But I do know that men do have some issues sometimes because they may come from that type of home and they're out of that home. Let me try with this woman over here. We're going to start our new life. And the next thing you know, the guy is self-medicating to deal with that same woman that he was going to
Yep.
try to make a life with.
Yep. I'm going to say this. I do think now, and I'm not saying this about every single body, but I'm going to say this. I do think
Mhm.
there is something to the narrative I heard around these streets that says that a woman who is with a man who is older than her and taller than her and heavier than her has an easier time submitting to that man and not seeing that man as a boy to control. I see valid merit to that. And the reason why is because there's always a direct, like, as women, right? I mean, okay, I don't know if y'all brawled in the streets ever with other girls and stuff when y'all were younger, but you know how to judge another person when it comes to fighting them, right? So you look at someone and you think, I could take him, I could take that person, or no, I can't, right? If that woman was a lot taller than you, a lot stronger than you, a lot bigger than you, especially if she was older than you, she didn't even have to have the other factors. It was enough to make you feel the need internally to back down for some reason. So I feel like if you already have a very combative kind of nature, you know that you're naturally kind of manipulative, you have seen those types of control narratives being pushed around you, I feel like it would be to your benefit to get with somebody that you see naturally as being more powerful than you. Because when you see someone as being more powerful than you, it makes you automatically check yourself, right? It makes you check every word that comes out of your mouth before you say it, because you're not going to sit there and be disrespecting someone who's older and bigger and stronger than you. You're just not. You're not as wild and crazy with your mouth because you know what? You know that person can take you. Right. And so I feel like we need a little bit more of that. I think likewise with the man in this situation, to me, he looked, in comparison to her, he looked like a boy. He did look like a boy. Now they might be the same age. He might be older, but he looked younger than her. And he held himself like he was still a teenager. He needs a woman who's smaller and younger and more petite than he is. So he just naturally, it inspires in him the fact that he's the powerful, confident one. He's the one who's the masculine man and whatever. And then, a woman's feelings or a woman's bad mood that day is not going to naturally emasculate you because you already feel so weak and powerless in their presence. You see what I'm saying?
I see exactly what you're saying, but it sounds to me like regardless of what dude's issues were, getting a woman ain't it, because he sure have another woman and he got rid of this one, or she got rid of him, vice versa. It was needed. and now he's with somebody else. She's not happy about that, but she still loves him. You know, I think he needs to not be worried about being in a relationship, and he just need to get his life in order. You know,
See, look at them. With heels on, she's a little taller than him, but he's smaller than her everywhere. And that smaller than herness makes him look younger than her. Like he looks about a decade younger than her. He really does. Look at him. That could be that could be your teenage son, right? Like that could be your teenage son, and she looks great for her age. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to like. He looks like he has a tie on and a dress shirt on, but it looks like he's playing dress up in daddy's clothes. Like he's never really worn dress clothes before, right? Meanwhile, she's a professional businesswoman. She's comfortable in that kind of attire. Like you just look at it and you can see their power dynamic is mommy's son. You don't see him standing there as a man. Now, he doesn't have an issue getting women. That's true. But is he getting women that he has functional relationships with? I'm going to say I doubt that he does. I
agree.
I think, right?
Yeah, not yet.
No, right? And so if that's the case, right now, imagine him with a chick who's just like, a head shorter than him. She petite, for her size and whatever. So he just naturally like bear hugs her. That would make him put his shoulders back. Right now, his shoulders are hunched forward. He's not standing with his shoulders back and squared out, that masculine kind of posture that, their chests out because they feel big. They feel, manly. I don't think he feels manly. I don't think he feels powerful and in control. And, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but honestly, if you're a broken woman and you see that, that's like weakness. And you have that piranha in you that's going to make you jump and attack your prey. You know what I mean? Like he's prey in a way. He has a lot of work he needs to do. Now, I'm not blaming, and that's why I said I think they're both at fault. So I'm talking about for both of them. Now, she had a man who was a foot taller than her, built like a linebacker, right? A deep booming voice and a penetrating gaze. You think she would be sitting there having the nerve to take that man's bottle of alcohol, no matter how drunk he is, and pouring it down her sink, talking to him the way she just was in court? She never would have done it. Never, ever, ever, ever.
I don't even think that his size and stature meant anything to her. I think what it was with her is that this was a man that she was with, that she fell in love with, but she never really had respect for him. No woman who has respect for her man is going to treat him like that. When it got to a point where, he wouldn't do what she said, I mean, a woman who is trying to make her man mind her, does that sound like a woman who respects her man? To me, it doesn't. To me, it does not. It doesn't sound like a woman that respects. So she absolutely has no respect for him anyway. The relationship started off tumultuous. So she didn't have respect for him from the gate, from the beginning of the relationship until it ended. She didn't have any respect for him because he actually showed her that he can overpower her by knocking her around. He knocked her around. He had enough power to knock her tooth out from the root. And she's not a tiny woman, so you mean to tell me she couldn't have, balled up a fist and knocked his head into a wall? She didn't do that. She didn't.
But what though? But Vonda, but he explained. Okay, so with the tooth thing, he said she came up behind him, right? And he hit her while turning. So he didn't square up with her and punch her in the face. Right? He wasn't actually intentionally hitting her as much as, you do that thing where you're just get the hell off me, man. He's probably doing that as he was turning around and just, it was a good angle and a lucky shot.
But it's man's strength. He used his man's strength, even though it could have been unintentional. But at the end of the day, a man is a man, and a man has a great amount of strength over a woman. And so when he hit her, she got hit with that man's strength. No matter whether he was trying to knock her out or just get her the hell off of him. He knocked her out with some man's strength, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna call the police." And there goes the whole thing starting. They're a little roller coaster.
That's true, but here's the thing, right? The thing that I'm talking about is not what you actually are. I'm talking about perception, right? So again, when you are born into a world where men and women do fight and hit each other and blah blah blah, women are not using that automatic reasoning that says, well, if men have way more muscle mass than ours, and their muscle mass is used for fighting and lifting and whatever, so therefore he's just naturally stronger than me no matter what size I look, right? They're not using that rationale. They're using the same rationale we use to size up women, right? Which is, I could take him, right? Because why? Because we're about the same height, we're about the same weight, whatever. They're not using the same rationale that you're using or that I would use, right? Because I was raised in that way where not like once men and women, now we're different now. We're built differently, right? A man, don't matter. He could be a foot shorter than you and still knock you flat on your ass, still be way stronger than you, even without a whole bunch of muscle, because men are just built that way, right? But she's not using that rationale. And that's why I said perception is everything. He knows that physically he's stronger than this woman. He's probably had to do all kinds of physical stuff for her over a decade. But it's not about the fact that when he looks at her, he sees his physical strength equal literally. It's about the inspiration or triggering from within that triggers a man's need to protect you, a man's need to kind of like, envelop you with not just leadership, but also protection. Right. And that makes you feel as a man, and it inspires you, and it makes you feel masculine. It makes you feel strong. It makes you feel powerful. Right. And that is a very calming, peaceful feeling for a man. It grounds him in his masculinity. Right. And that's why I said sometimes if you don't already have that built internally, right, because of a whole bunch of dysfunction in your rearing, right, then sometimes literally just having physical cues in front of you, make her a little smaller, make her a little bit more meek. Even if she got a whole lot of mouth with that little teeny tiny high pitched voice of hers, but she's so teeny. What's up with that giant booming 6'7" voice he's got? You feel it as a woman. There's a different feeling you get from that much just physical presence of man. He might be all kinds of weak internally. He might not be able to like lift up a bowling ball because he's actually weak as hell, but just based on the physical stature, it makes us react to it differently. And that's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying I feel like it would be a good trick or cue for them to go for something else, because when you ask what came first, the chicken or the egg, as far as the respect and disrespect, right? She was looking for someone she could disrespect and she could control and she could manipulate because that's what she thinks is normal and healthy. Maybe she's afraid to actually be open and vulnerable to a man because she's seen that go bad for women in her life or for herself, etc. Right? So it wasn't that, he brought on disrespect. I don't think she ever really like loved him, not like that. Like, I don't think she ever respected him. She went and looked for someone she could feel a particular way towards, right? And that was this guy. And so that's what I'm saying. She needs to stop herself from doing that and intentionally go out of her way to go find someone who evokes the exact opposite feeling and learn how to work with that guy. Because that's going to make you mind your P's and Q's and teach you how to speak to men differently.
Oh, she's not gonna do that. That's can't gonna do that now. That's doing too much. I gotta watch what I say. I can't manipulate you. Oh no. What fun is that?
That would definitely work for her now. I mean, but when they got together when she was, 19, 20, 21, I don't think it was as calculated as her saying, you know what, I need to find someone that I can, put up under my thumb. I think when they met, they liked each other and she realized, oh, I can control him.
Yeah.
I think it was something that she discovered that she could do. I don't think she necessarily looked. Now, if she's looking for a man now at the age that she is 11 years later, she might be looking for that next man that she can control.
Right. But at 19, I don't think that happened at 19. It's like, oh, you're so cute. Oh, you cute too. Giggle, giggle, giggle.
I feel like, though, you know what? Not consciously. I agree with y'all. I don't think it's conscious when you're very young, but subconsciously, I think you're doing it. I mean, come on. Like at 19, man, we've already been dating. at 19. At 19, you've already figured out all kinds of stuff about your likes and your dislikes as far as dating, right? Let's be real, right? On average, at 19, you've already had several sexual partners these days, right? If we're being honest about the average. So, they might not have consciously been doing these things, but subconsciously, subconsciously at the very least, yeah, you think you're cute. I think you're cute too and everything. Sure, okay. But after, 10 seconds, you already know a lot of things about someone, right? Because you're already shit testing someone right at the very beginning, right? Like, even if it's not in a crazy way, you're kind of approaching different lines and you're seeing, can I step over them? Is it acceptable or not? And you do that automatically without even, it's not even in the gameplay way. You just naturally do that with people, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like the kind of humor that's more deadpan, and I just make statements without laughing at them, but they're normally pretty offensive sounding. And I'll just make a statement like that and see how you react, right? And if you don't laugh, well, then that's not your kind of humor, right? I have to explain it for 5. Okay, that's not your kind of humor. You're not that kind of person. If you get offended by it, maybe you're not that kind of person. Like, I mean, you might not, you know what I mean? So you kind of do stuff, or I'll make jokes about you. And I'll see, what do? Do you volley a joke back? Do you get, mean and snippy about it? Like, now you're trying to cut me down because you took that. You know what I mean? So we're constantly shit testing people anyway. At 19, that's old enough that you're shit testing. And if you're testing, that means you have a standard you're looking for. And they found it in each other pretty early on, right? Which is why you stay. Which is why, and like, if she's saying once a month from the beginning, that means somewhere in the first 30 days of them being together, her shit test included her doing something to try to recreate her childhood, basically, right? And relationships she observed, these dysfunctional ones, to see, would he play it out with her, or would she be left alone in the muck? Because she doesn't want to be left alone in the muck. She doesn't want to be in peace and happiness. It's too boring, right? You'll hear people say that, right? Yeah. Peace, happiness, being in love, working together. That's boring. That's some weak stuff, right? I want the excitement, right? I want the fun of abusive, tumultuous relationships because I like the makeup, right? Because I feel like if he's not going to hit me, he don't love me. You hear people say this, and I don't mean just like the 1% who gets abused. I mean, like, this is some normal stuff. I heard a channel review a big, huge channel on doing a discussion, and a woman said this, right? She don't like those boring relationships. She wants a man who's going to react violently and blah, blah, because otherwise she feels like you don't really love her like that. There's not enough passion in the relationship. We're seeing this a lot more and more these days. They're looking for the dysfunction because peace, he don't really love you. You can't make him angry. You can't make him lose his mind. He don't really love you. You can't make him hit you. He don't really care like that, right? Because you're only going to react violently to something you care about. And that's how they think, for real. It's scary, but it's true, right? And that's what we need to realize. It's scary, but it's true. And this woman, this whole entire court thing, I still think is in her manipulation game to try to make him violate that order to come be with her because she still wants to be with him. That's what it comes down to. And not because she loves him. No. It's because she found her whipping boy already. She doesn't want to train a new one.
Well, he better learn. He better learn because she is not the one. They tried it for a little over a decade. It didn't work, and he better learn. If he falls back into that, dude, that's on him. He a fool. I'm not, there's no way in hell. I don't give a damn. I'm going to be with anybody that has called the police on me no less than 18 times.
Right.
There's no way. I'm not doing it. It's too much stress. It's too much craziness. And like I said, I think she was addicted to the drama. I think she was addicted to the drama because if someone's trying to get away from you to diffuse an argument and you're like, no, you're going to listen to me. That's some shit your mother or your father would say. You try to walk away from your mother or father. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Wait a minute. They going to follow you and be like, who do you think you talking to?
Okay.
The last time I, got my ass whooped by my mother, I was 18 years old. 18. I was 18 and I was a mother myself. Okay. I got real flip with her. I said some, I did one of those, whatever.
Uh-oh.
I barely made it 3 steps before I was face down, in a headlock, and I was just like, oh my God. Now I'm very respectful of my parents. So my thing is that I'm not going to fight my mom. I'm not fighting her. I'm not fighting my mom. But she was like, look, I'm not with your disrespect, heifer. And so she was letting me know.
She never told you.
She let me know
Okay.
it was a hell to the no for her. And you know what? You just mature. And I'm like, you know what? This wasn't worth it. Me fighting with my mom just to get a point across or being disrespectful. For me, it wasn't worth it. I just had to learn. But my mom wasn't having it. She was not having it, not 1 inch. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you said that to your mom,
Okay.
Ruby, I would have been picking my teeth up off the floor, be like, okay, where's my other tooth? I'm still missing one. It just flew underneath the couch or something. I gotta find it.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, like I said, never happened before, never happened again. I was not disrespectful towards my parents. That's why my mother knew there was a problem. Like, like
She
you think
gave
about it.
you a pass. You got a pass,
Yeah.
girl.
Like she didn't talk to me. She didn't talk to me for a solid like 5 days until after the pastor talked to her. And even then she didn't talk to me. She was so shocked, but she knew there was something dreadfully wrong because I was not a disrespectful kid. I didn't raise my voice at my parents. I didn't give them attitude. I didn't yell and scream at them. Nothing. I was very well mannered and very well trained. So for this to happen suddenly at 12, 13 years old, like to her out of the blue, right? It was like, what the hell just happened? Of course, she called like 17 people to cry, but what a horrible demon child I am, and I must be possessed by the devil or something, right? So there's probably a lot of the new church beliefs that had saved me because it must be the devil, not me. But ultimately, yeah, there was clearly an indication something was because I wouldn't even yell at my mom to like shut up or in a crazy moment. Never, even when I was a kid, did I yell no at my mom. I didn't yell at my parents. I don't disrespect my parents, right? I was allowed to reasonably ask questions if I didn't understand something, but that was it. There was no disrespecting. I didn't do that. My way of being low-key disrespectful was to okay, so one time my mom whipped me with a belt and one side was chain mail, like literally metal, and the other side was metal studs. And she was whipping me because I said I'm too sick to go to school. And she was too busy with her own life to actually test me and see that I was sick, because I really was. And I just refused to go and get ready. So she started whipping me and I was holding her away with my feet. So she was really only cutting up my legs. And as she was doing it, I started going, stop, mom, that tickles. That tickles, mommy, stop.
Ruby girl.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you know what? You got it really nice. You were able to, reasonably disagree. I grew up in the era I said what I said, and you don't question what I said. And that's just that. There was no back talk. It was like, if there was back talk, it was gonna be under my breath. And so I did that for you. Under my breath. So when I got 18, and like I said, I was a mother myself. I did whatever. That was it. That was it. I 2 steps, and I was in a dust bowl.
Oh no! See, back talking was not allowed. I wasn't allowed to. That's not back talking. I was allowed to ask questions. So I was allowed to question why it is I'm allowed to do, why I'm doing something. No. Okay, so I'll explain. So I have to clean the tables and whatever, right? And it's not fair because whatever I think it's not fair. As I'm getting all this stuff, right? I can't answer them. I can't ask questions them because I'm going to say it in a disrespectful way, right? It's my tone and my delivery and my feelings. I can't say, well, I'm crying, nothing, right? But once I've calmed down, I can say after the fact, because I've already cleaned the table now, because the table has to get clean. Like, it's not about me questioning whether or not I should have to clean the table. The table still has to get clean. But I can ask afterwards, Mom, can I talk to you? Yes. Okay, so about the table earlier. Well, remember how you said that my only chores were this, and this day? Well, I was wondering, since that's what you promised, and I did all my other chores, why you added the third chore. I was allowed to do that. Now, and then she would tell me, like, well, because I forgot to add the table to your chores, and so it became part of your chores. Okay, thank you for answering. Mom, is there a way that I could get more advance notice than that? I'm allowed to ask questions. I'm not allowed to question her per se. Like, I had to still clean the table. It's not like I had rights, right? But they were trying to teach me how to communicate effectively because of my anger management issue, right? Because I had such like I would go into blind rages where like literally I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything, and when suddenly the mist would clear, everything is shattered in my room because I couldn't control my anger. They thought but school thought someone must be abusing me at home or something. They called in a social worker to my school, especially for me. And the social worker was coming to my house and blah, blah, blah. They thought someone must be doing me something. That's how bad this anger management issue was. And no one ever solved like why I had it. I just had to learn how to deal better with like disappointment and hurt feelings. But yeah, so it was all lessons that they had been teaching my parents since I was like 6, 7 years old. So it wasn't like necessarily natural, right? It was like, if I'm silenced, then my feelings are hurt, then I don't understand. And the more I didn't understand, the more disappointed or frustrated I was, the worse my anger management issue would get. So to be clear, they were following, professional advice. That's why I was so lucky. But that's also why, again, I'm so keen on seeing when people are doing certain things, right?
Mhm.
I was so keen on, and yeah, I know if Queen of the South was here, she'd be like, Ruby always takes the side of the man. I know, right? I know that's what Queen would be saying. I know she's probably up in the clouds right
Yeah,
now saying it, right?
I thought
Uh,
about her too.
right? I knew it. I know that's why I rock with Vonda, right? She said last week. Now here's the thing, right? I understand why she's saying that. It's just when I see this situation, I understand that 97% of people are just going to default to agree with the woman, and that's that, and they're going to overlook her destructive behavior. And I'm addressing it not just to
Right.
defend the man, but because I know women do this and they
Yep.
do it till they meet the wrong one. And I don't want women to take it for granted the effect that the kind of disrespecting and emasculation tactics
Mhm.
has on men. You have to understand how much control men are using, not to treat you like another man and beat you like you stole something when you try to steal their pride, when you try to damage their ego, when you try to
Yep.
emasculate them, when you treat them like little boys. Like, these are men, right? And we need
Right.
to be understanding and cognizant of this because men react differently than women do to disrespect.
Right. You chose this man because you wanted a mate.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to respect him
Mm-hmm.
as such. I
Right.
don't care if he doesn't live up to whatever it is you think he should live up to.
You chose,
Mm-hmm.
Then
right. I
you
agree.
have a couple of choices.
Right.
And you can stay, you can wait it out, you can help him, you can
Mm-hmm.
leave. You have those choices. But to manipulate him and try to destroy his life because you're not happy? Oh,
Mm.
no. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, no. You need to take responsibility. That's why I stopped the tape right in the beginning when she labeled herself as a victim.
Mhm.
I'm like, no, I don't even need to hear the rest. I already know this is not true. If you weren't, what is that? It was, I don't remember the lady's name, but there was some lady that was, young lady that was kidnapped as a small child and tied up for years, for 10 years. If that isn't your story, then no, you're not a victim. No, I'm sorry. You're not a victim.
That's
Mm.
true. A
I know exactly what
voluntary
you're talking
victim, which
about.
is not a
Yeah.
victim. You volunteered for that service right there. She volunteered for every bit of it. And I'd even go even further to say that she initiated it, by, provoking him in a lot of different ways. I don't think this man, came in drunk and said, you know what, I feel feisty. Let me go in and beat her. Let me go in there and beat him.
Right.
I
No.
think it started with an argument, and he's like, you know what, you crazy. I'm out of here. Where you going? Get back here. You gonna listen to me. And it's like, oh God,
Who you texting?
Um,
What's wrong? Why your phone like that?
you gonna
Why
do
you
what I
went over
said
there and
to.
you can just
mhm.
hear it. You just
Yeah.
know it.
Right. And
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think some of these women don't think that that actually happens in real life. Like what you said, like, he's drunk and he decided he just can come in here and whoop your ass for no good reason. No, that is literally the definition of an abusive relationship. The worst thing that ever happened to me in my abusive relationship, that's legit what happened. The man told me he didn't like when I smoked weed, so I stopped smoking weed. But his friend offered me some weed. I asked him, like, he was there and he said, yeah, go ahead. I'm like, no, it's okay. And he's like, no, go ahead. But then he, again, doesn't like when I was smoking weed. So he told his friend to drop me off 10 miles away from the house and let me walk home by myself in the middle of the night in the winter. So his friend dropped me off by the house and said, never tell that I actually did this. Because people were legitimately scared of him, like not just women, but men too. And I woke
Mhm.
up in the middle of the night. Literally, I woke up when he got home to his hand in my hair, and he was just punching me in the face like I was a man. Like I remember thinking that he's punching me like I'm like his hand is a fist. He's punching me like I'm a man. Oh my God, I think he might kill me. I remember like all these thoughts going through my head. This was not he came home, then we started arguing, and then I went too far with the words. And no, see, I think some of these women don't understand that there are literally men out there who will beat you black and blue because you burnt the toast. And by you, the
Yeah.
toaster burnt the toast, even though it's on the right setting. Or they will beat you because dinner was 3 minutes late or 2 minutes early, or the roast beef wasn't moist enough. Okay. That to me is an abusive relationship. When someone is beating
Right.
you and demoralizing you and breaking you down like that, and not because you fight too much, your mouth too slick, whatever, just because you exist. And honestly, they got issues, and that's it. That to me is an abusive relationship.
Right.
If you are intentionally instigating someone, and then because they don't control themselves well enough, because they can only take so much, so they finally snap back,
Hmm.
and you're going to call that person abusive. No, I have an issue with that terminology, because that's not actually abusive. And the unfortunate part is that the way that you're going on, I would hate for you to be caught in the snares of a real abusive relationship after saying that type of things is abusive, because no one's going to believe you. No one's going to believe
Right.
what's really happening, because
Mhm.
they know how you go. They know how you stay. They know how you go on. They know how your mouth slick. They know how you like to instigate. They know, right? And again,
Right.
am I saying it's okay that if you continually instigate and poke 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 at someone, that one day when they hit you, am I saying it's okay? No, I'm not saying it's okay. That person should walk the hell away from that relationship long before they ever hit you. Um, right? But what I am saying is that even though it's not okay, you are also at fault. That's a
Yes.
combative. That's two-person combat.
Mm-hmm.
You might only combat with your words. You might only combat with insults. You might only combat with deep, significant personal stuff you know about them that you know is going to get underneath their skin. So they trusted you with some stuff, and then you turn around and use it against them, right? You might only be combating with that. And since you do it with women, and women mostly just run their mouths back, you think it's okay. And so when a man now he snaps and hits you, then you're like, "Well, men don't talk as much as women do, right? Men
Right.
don't think
That's true.
gossip and verbal hurling insults at each other is combat. When you insult a man, right? You think about old movies, right? When you disrespect a man, you disrespect his honor, what does he do? He throws down a glove, throws down a gauntlet. And what happens? Now we're dueling at dawn. Not punching. We are dueling with guns, and one of us is going to die at dawn because you offended his honor. That's men. Okay. That's how deep disrespect goes for men. So, we shouldn't. And I think the thing is, we want to take that away from men. What we want to do is say, men, it's not okay for you to feel like that anymore. You should react like women do to disrespect. That's never going to happen. Men are men, right? So what we need to do is recognize how important disrespect is to men. Recognize how important ego is to men, right?
Yes.
And then recognize that men are not going to ever be women, right? If we want men to recognize we're never going to be men, then we need to recognize men are never going to be women, and start treating that respect thing, that emasculation stuff, with the seriousness it deserves, because it is just as bad as you pulling out a knife and, you know, punching, popping him a few times in the arm. Like, it's not good.
Exactly. If you don't know what that is, you better find out. Go somewhere and find out what men like and what they are. If you don't have that as a father figure, grandfather, brother, male cousin, uncle, keep on going down the line. I don't know what to tell you, but
Mm-hmm.
if you get a thrill out of that, something's actually wrong with you.
Yes.
You're going to keep playing. That's why I say keep playing.
Mhm.
You're going to get the prize that you do not want, but you do deserve. So
Mm-hmm.
keep playing if you want to.
Right? As we regularly say on this channel, play stupid games,
Get
win
stupid
stupid
prizes.
prizes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right? You know, I mean, again, and this is where if you're already in a couple, if you're already in a relationship and this sounds like you, seek therapy, couples therapy, and individual therapy. You need individual therapy for you to work on your own stuff, but you need couples therapy to truly hear and understand and take in the impact of your behavior on your significant other. Um, because if you don't already know, if you don't already inherently understand, then you're not going to take it seriously when your significant other is trying to tell you, right? Likewise, if the reason why you're acting out is because of hurt, pain, disappointment, whatever your significant other is causing you, and it's so deep and significant to you, and they're not taking you seriously, right? Then what you need to do is, again, therapy is a really good way of, again, getting them to hear that to them it's not a big deal, to them it's not serious, to them it's not a problem, right? It shouldn't be a big deal, but to you it's the whole entire world. So they have to understand, when they trample on that, when they disrespect that, for you it's more than a knife in the chest, and all you want to do is devastate them back so they can understand the pain they've caused you, right? Now, two wrongs don't make it right. No one is ever going to understand your pain while you're busy inflicting pain on them, right? Because all they're going to start paying
Exactly.
attention to is
Ruby,
their
can you
pain.
say that again? Nobody is going to understand your pain while you're inflicting pain on them.
Exactly. Nobody ever going to understand your pain while you're busy inflicting pain on them, right? So the answer is not every time they hurt you in that way. You've already tried to tell them it's important, but they're dismissing how important it is to you. So now you're going to hurt them twice as bad in the way that hurts them, so they can understand how much that thing hurts you. And then that's what you're going to scream at them too. That's not going to work, right? And I
Right.
understand people have vested interests for why they don't leave these relationships, right? So not the case we're talking about now, but hey, maybe you have a few kids. Maybe you've been married for a good while and you don't really believe in divorce. You know, maybe at the beginning y'all went through some stuff and really had each other's back, right? Maybe deep down there is a lot of love and respect for each other, and things just, you know, went left, right? So there are reasons why people don't want to just walk away, and I get that, but then y'all need help. Like, you need help to get away from this, because this kind of thing is exactly the kind of thing that ends in death, right? Where
Yeah. Hmm.
man kills woman, woman kills man, someone who
Yeah.
hires someone to kill whoever, right? And of course the kids, again, caught in the crossfire, and guess who they grow up to be? We're just gonna have a whole bunch. Like, if two of you create four children, and you stay dysfunctional the whole time, now you're putting four dysfunctional people into the next series of adults, and so on. And that's why our pool of adults keeps getting more and more dysfunctional, right? So, like, break the chain now. You start couples counseling. Once y'all have started to work through your stuff, what do? You do family counseling. And you make sure that the kids in individual counseling. Everyone needs counseling at this point. This is so toxic.
Well, I hope they have good insurance plans, because all this therapy that everybody is getting it's not cheap and it's not going to be free. I agree. I think that, they both do need individual therapy because there's a reason why they both continue to stay in this relationship. This toxic. If there's ever a description of toxic relationship, this is the poster child for toxic relationship.
Right.
If this man was whooping on her, every month, she at least got her monthly, butt whooping from him, and the police is called and they going back and forth with all this drama and all this craziness. Just imagine the anxiety in that household. Thank God that baby didn't come until the tail end of this relationship. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I'm like, what
Exactly.
the hell? I mean, the stress. I mean, I don't know that. I think at the age that both of these people are right now, if they just haven't said to themselves, "I'm so glad this is over," you couldn't pay me to go back into this relationship. I don't give a damn who she loved. Love me from a distance because this is nothing. I want no parts of this, not one single piece of it.
Especially 11 years.
Right. And can we just point out a real quick thing about, because this was glossed over, like nobody heard this in the story, right? But so okay, she pours out his alcohol like a dick, and then he reacts stupidly, grabs her, like seriously, grabs her keys and his shoes and jumps into the car. Okay. And at that point, she follows him without her shoes on, and her baby follows her
with no shoes.
With no shoes on.
Yes.
You tell me what kind of irresponsible parent. She must have flown out that door, left the door wide open without a care or thought in the world as to what the hell her daughter was doing or not. Must have.
That baby was definitely gonna follow her mom. Mom, where you going? She gonna run out the house too. I'm not staying here by myself. She running out too.
Yeah, because the door's wide open. The door ain't shut behind her even, right? And so she did all of that without even a care in the world for her daughter. Then she realizes her daughter's behind her. Does she say, you know what? This is a dangerous situation right now, and volatile and toxic. So I'm just gonna back away from it. No, she stands there with the door open and her daughter, shoeless, in her hands, arguing with the man with the door open, trying to stop him from going anywhere, with her daughter in her hands, her shoeless, coatless daughter in her hands. That's the choice she made. Okay. So again, right, when we're talking about now, I'm trying here to acknowledge both sides of the situation. But as this child's mother, right, you've gotten a restraining order against the father, right? Because apparently you're saying he put the daughter in danger, but really he took him in his violent outburst and left the house.
She put that baby in danger.
She put the baby in danger, and yet she has custody and a restraining order against the father. So now the father can't see his kid. Father can't see his kid. That's it. That means the kid can't see her father. That means we have another little girl who's going to be growing up with a whole bunch of daddy issues on top of all of this toxic mirroring she's going to have in her life, and no father in sight, even though that father wants to take part in his child's life. Right. And the mother is the kind of mother who makes that type of decision with her kid's life. Don't care. Well, now she's here, so I'm going to hold her, and I'm going to hold her basically like a shield in front of me. So you can't do nothing to me. Otherwise, you're going to hit your baby. You can't do that. You're going to hurt your baby. I bet you she was doing that. Because otherwise, the baby, you find the baby's there, you back off. You back off with that kid and you go, you are so lucky this kid came outside. But the kid never should have been able to come outside because you should have shut that door behind her.
And that's what I thought too. When she said he left and, and jumped in her car, which again tells me he didn't have a car of his own. This woman was, it appeared to be the breadwinner. She should have just closed the door, locked it, just called the police, say, look, my dude has taken my car, and I gotta go to work tomorrow. I'm just gonna report my car stolen. I know you took it and just leave it at that. And she should have just went to bed, put that baby to bed, prepared for the story she was going to tell her job if she wasn't able to make it to work, or wake up an hour earlier so that she'd be able to get things prepared so that she can get to work. But to go out there and chase that man who is like, trying to hightail it out of there to get the hell away from you. You have never been able to stop him in the 11 years you've been with this fool. You ain't never been able to stop him from getting the hell away from you, because either he bopped you in the mouth and made a break for it, or he did whatever he had to do to get away from you. Leave this man alone. He's trying to get away from you. He was screaming for help.
You've been running for a long time.
Yeah, I just think he needs to pick up his shattered pieces and some Gorilla Glue spray adhesive. Try to put that shit together. Little by little. Get him a counselor, and you know what? And don't think that dealing with this woman is going to be perfect, because she's going to try to put whatever she can into it. She's going to try to drop any type of cyanide, rat poison, anything that she can get in the water. So he just needs to get his shit together. No more DUIs, my G. No more. You need to get a job and keep it. Pay her the money that they say you need to. Work out a payment plan. What it is, a lot of dudes don't like to call the courts and make their own arrangements. They get a judgment, they get the mail, and guess what they do? They ignore it. They throw the shit in the trash. They ignore it. It gets sent to their mama's house. And before you know it, they try to go and get a car. Oh, you can't get a car. You got this and that and the third going on. They try to go get their license. Oh, no, you can't get a license. You got this, that, and the third going on. Take care of your business. You call the people. The whole thing with child support is that this agency is trying to make money. They're not trying to get money for your child. They're trying to make their money. Go into those people and make an arrangement with them. Make an arrangement with them and get a job that will allow you to make that arrangement with them.
Right. Which, speaking of which, ladies, I need y'all to understand something. If you have a man that willingly pays child support for his kid without going through the courts, please don't be stupid and start going through the court, because, hey, guess what? When you go through the court, he pays $500, you get $325. Okay? So you're not even
you think he's getting that service fee.
Right.
And they got about, 150 other dudes doing the same thing. They're making their money. So all you doing is making money for them. But you know what? She's not going to be reasonable, or you can even try to be reasonable. At one point, she thought you was the cat's meow, and you could sweet talk her and do whatever. But as long as you aggravated and irritated with her after you done had a couple drinks, that's not going to work, my G. It's not going to work. The alcohol and the drinking, you're going to have to leave that to the side, because it's not drowning your problems out. It's not getting rid of your problems. It's actually magnifying your problems. It's increasing the problems that you have with her, because she does control you to an extent. But if you go and you make your own arrangements, she get her little, and they talk about this all the time, her little $13 a week. You are fulfilling what you need to fulfill until you get better on your feet. But if you let her run amok and you don't go to them people and make any type of arrangements, and you let her control everything, then it'll be a woe is me story for the rest of your life, why you could never get back on your feet.
At least for the next 14 years or so. But
right.
Yeah. And we want to end the show with that, good people. And don't forget, tomorrow is article reactions at 6:30 p.m. Hope to see you then. We'll have some good articles to share with you. And thank you, ladies, for joining the panel and giving some good information. I appreciate it. Love your commentary. Love your opinions and ideas. Always.
Thank you, Char. I appreciate it. Being here.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate you. Those that contributed and those that gave information in the chat room. Again, hope to see you tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. for article reactions. And until then, peace.
Cheers, y'all.
Peace out, family.
Hey, folks, it's your nighttime, it's your right time DJ Music. Make sure you join Char Willie each and every Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, for article reaction, right here on your local YouTube channel. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe to Article Reaction.